Welcome to our web exclusive. I'm Mike Montecalvo, along with Eyewitness News analyst Lieutenant General Reginald Centracchio. We're remembering JFK. It's been 50 years since the assassination of John Fitzgerald Kennedy, the nation's 35th president. General, do you remember? Because people usually remember where they were at that time.
I remember it well. I was stationed at a missile site here in Rhode Island at North Smithfield, and just coming into the main gate, we heard the news that the president was shot and had understood at that particular time that he'd been killed. But what that did was to unleash a whole readiness consideration where we were ready to go to war, considering that we didn't know whether that assassination was orchestrated by perhaps Cuba or even Russia. So it was a scary time.
We're going to talk about that and how some close ties to Rhode Island in just a second. But that was really a changing time because it was JFK, his brother, you know, Martin Luther King Jr. all assassinated. It was scary at that point for that period.
It was, and I think recently I read something that was rather poignant, and that has to do with the change of the American culture. Went from hope, optimism, and everybody felt good. And right after that assassination and the several others after that, you know, we became a nation of pessimists, and that we're always looking to the bad things, what was going to happen next, versus looking to the hope and certainly the optimism that we had at one time.
Well, if you really look at it, in less than one term, his major accomplishments was the nuclear test ban treaty and the Alliance for Progress that was fostering greater economic ties with Latin America. But part of that, especially the first one, kind of played into conspiracy theorists of what happened to him.
Right, exactly. And, you know, backing up a little bit, you know, during the Cuban Missile Crisis a year earlier, just about a year earlier, we were engaged in a pretty significant level of security, meaning that when you look at his administration, you said the test ban treaty took place, and the closest we ever came to a nuclear confrontation happened in that same administration with the Cuban Missile Crisis. So it's really ironic. You can go from one extreme to another, getting rid of nuclear weapons, or at least banning the test on nuclear weapons, to a possible confrontation of an exchange of nuclear weapons between the United States and the Soviet Union at the time.
And even the Rhode Island missile sites, too, were under a microscope at that point.
Absolutely. You know, as soon as we put the blockade up, each of the missile sites in Rhode Island, we had 5 in Rhode Island at one time, came up to a readiness status and stayed there until 1963. In October of 1963, today, in fact, was the anniversary when the blockade was dissipated, and that ended the Cuban Missile Crisis.
General, how has security changed over the last 50 years? I don't think you would see a president anymore just driving down a Dallas road, for example, wide open.
You're right. I think an awful lot of consideration goes into the planning well months in advance, and you won't see a president, I believe, step out of the vehicle as JFK did on several occasions. And the decision to take the bubble top off that vehicle that day was unprecedented, and I think it had much to do with trying to maintain the credibility of the president in Dallas, which was said to be very hostile to him, but as apparently it wasn't, because there were record crowds there.
Have they changed the way they pick a security team, the Secret Service, over the last 50 years?
I think so. You know, unfortunately, the Secret Service has not had some good things happen to them in the last couple of years. But basically, the team that's picked to maintain security for the president and the first family is well picked, and they ensure that they have the right ingredients to be able to put in the kind of effort to protect the president and the family also. You know,
we talk about this so many times, the lessons learned from something like this.
Lessons learned certainly is that you don't do the same thing twice and expect a different outcome. And that has much to do with the planning that goes into it, the selection of the Secret Service team, and certainly what the president can do and what he can't do. Now, once again, the president can be advised not to do something, and he may do something anyway. That's the uncertainty of it all.
All right, real quickly before we run out of time, we spoke about this last week, the possibility of soldiers, American soldiers, staying in Afghanistan past 2014. Yeah. That's a possibility.
The last several events that have happened between the tornadoes and other natural disasters really overshadowed the talks that are going on as we speak. It's my opinion that we will be in Afghanistan well after 2014.
Okay, and of course we're going to stay on top of that story. General, thank you for your thoughts. Thanks for watching.